Well, hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hey-oh.
I was wondering where that was. Welcome to Sports and Spaghetti, episode 79. It smells very good in here. It smells very good in here. But before we get to that smell stuff, thank you so much for following us and watching and listening. As always, follow us if you haven't already on YouTube at Sports and Spaghetti, on Instagram at Sports and Spaghetti Pod, and on TikTok at Sports and Spag Pod. We must preface this by saying today that the Mets game is on, and so if we are looking up or if I'm looking here excessively, it's because the Mets are on, and we'll leave it there for now. We'll talk about the Mets today on the pod. I know some of my students will be listening because I told them I'd be having heated debate about the Mets today and that my partner has different thoughts about this team than I do. So thank you to all the students at my school that listen. I'm just going to blanket you all today. Okay. And teachers. There are now teachers that are saying, well, I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen. I'm going to watch. Okay. So now we'll get even more people. That's just what happens.
The secret word is cinnamon. To let Chris know you've listened, mention the word cinnamon.
Sure. Anthony, no cinnamon in what you made today. Tell him what you made.
There's just pure nostalgia in what I made today. So when you guys eat this, I want you to eat it with your eyes closed. I've made the Bosco Stick. And what the Bosco Stick is, it is a cheese-filled breadstick. This is episode or part 2 of our making food, our making school food gourmet, I guess. That is what we will call it.
Yes. The first one we did was the nachos.
Yes.
The Mexi chicken nachos. And I'll tell you what, Anthony, the Bosco Stick is I wouldn't say staple, but it's a rare appearer in the Danbury Public Schools lunch menu.
This is once a month in H2O town. We actually call them cheesy pizza dunkers. Was the proper name we called them.
I know, and I'm wondering where the marinara is, to be honest.
I didn't feel like making it.
Well, I would have just brought a jar of sauce and dunked it. I'll tell you what, that's a good name for them, cheesy pizza dunkers.
The dunkers.
The dunkers. That's very good stuff.
They're not jeans, they're dunkarees. Anyway, so Nikki, you heated them up. Well, would you like to dole them out? Because I don't know which ones are warm.
I will dole.
Give me a small. Yeah, that one's good.
We do need an ultimate cheese pull for the people watching.
Yes.
Nikki,
What a pitch. Wow.
Nikki, do you want to do the cheese pull?
I don't even know how to do this.
Can we preface this by saying that this is yet another thing Nikki has never tried?
Oh, absolutely. I could tell.
It goes without saying that he's never tried one.
I've had cheesy bread before.
It's close. Close. So I'll do the cheese pull. Here we go.
Cut on and missed. Mets are up 3-1.
So we'll go
Here we go. That wasn't that. That's not promising.
I don't think they're hot enough.
This one's
Well,
hot.
I think the inside's warm enough.
There we go.
There we go.
That's the one. That's nice. It's warm. This is quite hot.
Is it?
Oh, it smells so good, Anthony. Oh, it's like a garlic knot, a cheesy garlic knot. Oh. Mm-hmm. Eat it. Eat it. So good. It's good. It's just a Bosco Stick. It tastes just like them. I have to say, they didn't have these when I was in school.
they had them in St. Greg's.
A pop-up ends the inning. I just never had them. They didn't have them when I was there. That I know of. One day was chicken patty. Tuesday was always ziti. Wednesday was burger. Thursday was something else, and Friday was pizza. But it was never Bosco Sticks. But they have them in Danbury all the time, though. That's good stuff, Ant. Tell the people at home what you did. Sorry.
It's real easy. If you guys want to make these at home, I made pizza dough because we always make pizza dough here.
Did you make it by yourself?
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference right there. It's delicious.
Guys, this is a 2-ingredient basic thing. You can go to the store, buy a pre-bought bag of pizza dough and mozzarella string cheese. You flatten, you stuff, you bake.
How did you make the dough?
Just our standard pizza dough. If you've seen the episode, it's just flour, pretty much flour, water, a little salt,
Yeast,
a little yeast,
olive oil. Beautiful.
slicker down. That's it. And then I did a pretty basic garlic butter on top. Make that was my gourmetifying it. Garlic.
The garlic butter. When you told me about that, Anthony, that was phenomenal to hear, and it really didn't disappoint. This is good stuff. Nikki, what
Yes.
did you think?
I'm gonna give Anthony's first 10 this week.
Wow, Anthony! Look at you. You better hype him up while we can.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Like, I might as well give him his flowers because it's all gonna come raining down.
Yeah, it's all
in
going
about
away.
20 minutes.
Anthony, it's really good.
It is.
I mean, you couldn't have done any better. I don't think it could. And I find that Nikki has rated 10s to some of the simplest things. I have to also say that he's given both school foods a 10.
Both cheese related as well.
Yes.
I think it might be something where he's had the school one before, so that's a baseline.
Yeah.
Then when he eats these, it's like, wow, this is way better.
This is too. So we're on to something here. So our next school one, which will be in 3-4 weeks, well, we got to try to chase 10s for Nikki. This is 2 in a row, and Anthony's first
3
10.
if you count the cherry limeade.
That was so good.
Yeah, that was yummy, wasn't it? That was good. Melissa loved that too. That was fun. Anthony, very nice.
Yeah, really good.
It's real easy.
There's nothing to it, right?
So
it's just so good.
All you guys that are at home, again, run to the store, grab some store-bought pizza dough, some Polly-O string cheese.
You might even have this
That's it.
at home.
That's really all it is.
You probably have every ingredient for this at home already. Like if you cook dinner for your family decently, a good amount of times a week, 3-4 times a week. I mean, it's a no-brainer. A no-brainer. Make these. Dip them in some sauce. Oh, Anthony.
little marinade. That's it.
Just dip them in some sauce.
And as you guys can see, we have 3 extra. I have probably like 6 extra at home. I did some with pepperoni. Some with
Oh,
pepperoni.
it becomes almost a calzone.
Yeah, a little calzone.
Close. Almost
Then after that, you just throw some sauce on it. Have a good time. These are real easy. They taste really good. And to me, I have it in the notes, right? I eat this, and if you eat it with your eyes closed, this is the epitome of a high school cafeteria. You could taste the milk. You could hear the sounds about me when I eat this. I'm immediately in between. There's Sass. Sass is, I think, directly in front of me. Nick is to the left of me, Chef's Gift, and then Dodona's to the right of me.
See, that's what we want it to do, is to evoke those memories. It's for adults that have had them, and for kids that are in school right now that watch or listen. This is way better than the one that you eat in school.
Yeah.
And it's no fault of the school. It's just the fact that it's a homemade item. It's hard to make something homemade worse than something store-bought. Really is. And you know what, the one thing that this is not anything to do with a Bosco stick, but has to do with homemade. The one thing that I'll always take store-bought over homemade is a cookie cake. You know that?
I'll do store-bought tater tots too.
Yeah, I don't have the time for homemade tater tots, and they wouldn't be as good. I agree with you. The cookie cake, I've made one once, and it just was like a brownie. It wasn't thin enough. It puffed up too much. It became like a blondie.
Cookie cake is gas, bro. I'm in love with cookie cake.
Oh, it's so good. We got one safe at second. It was overturned. The Mets have it going. The cookie cake that we got at Labor Day, we got it like the Tuesday after Labor Day, so it was like $4 for the whole cookie cake. So this is TMI. Sabrina ate it, blue frosting. Sabrina ate it. Everything was blue. Her hands were blue. Her mouth was blue. It was blue the next day. It was like tinted blue. It was teal. Like the toilet water was teal. I kid you not. It's a true story. Yeah. cookie cake. Anyway, Bosco sticks are phenomenal. Anthony, you did an excellent job.
Thank you. Well, I finished
Agreed.
chewing. This is a nice, easy week. The food talk it's quick because we got a lot to get to.
Yeah, that was intentional. Well, I want one more bite before I yell. All right.
We're going in no particular order.
Yeah, we're going there. We're going in no particular order, and I got an order today. Okay. I got an order today. You have it up. Pull it up for me. I want to keep the game on. It's streaming. It's streaming legally on the computer.
Yes. Very legal.
Yes. It's on ESPN. See it. Let's start with the good because this is really good stuff, guys. I saw a picture on Instagram either on Tuesday or yesterday. I think it was last night while I was making dinner. Or Tuesday was yesterday. Wow. See, it's been one of those days. I'm tired. The entire Columbus Blue Jackets team, the whole roster, went to the second birthday party of Noah Gaudreau, who's the daughter of Johnny Gaudreau. They all showed up at her birthday party at their house. They had the big birthday sign, "Happy Birthday, Noah." You know those big pop-up signs that you could get from places, and they have the presents you stick in the ground, like on the white pegs. And the whole team was photographed in front of it. I mean, they have a big house. I mean, he was a pro hockey player. And it was just a beautiful thing. I think what a classy move that was. There couldn't have been any other good this week for me, because that was such a cool gesture. I'm sure. See, it's strange because, like, Sabrina's 3, right? And this girl just turned 2. There's no way that she fully understands what's going on, right?
Yeah, no chance.
But I know she misses her dad. There's no question that she thinks of him and wonders about him. And to me, that's one of the most heartbreaking things of all. But so for the team to do this, I guess just being a parent, and those of you listening that are parents, I'm sure you think the same thing. Just as a parent, it really struck me more than the death. Even was just that. Like, it's so bittersweet because it wouldn't have been that way if he was there. And so it's a reminder to Johnny's wife. You know, it's a bittersweet reminder of she still has that family of players forever, and so does their daughter. But it's just sad too. You know, there is that tinge of sadness involved, and broke my heart to see the picture. But it was an amazing gesture. Love that. Good stuff. Hockey is so good in that way. I don't know if there's another sport quite like it in terms of how the community outreach is.
Well, that's the thing, too. Johnny Gaudreau obviously was a Calgary Flame for most of his career. Calgary's outpouring of support is huge, too. Very rarely do you see teams, like previous teams, do that.
Right. I mean, this guy had a nickname around the league of Johnny Hockey. This is a guy that was most likely headed to the Hall of Fame, and he may get in based on his body of work. He was never a winner, which the Hall of Fame takes into consideration. You know, that's just statistically speaking. We're going to say that a lot today. The league likes when you're a winner, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets in at some point. I know he already has some of his equipment in the Hall of Fame just for goals that he scored and accomplishments that he's had. Good stuff for the Gaudreaus. I know Johnny is smiling down on all of this, and just a beautiful thing. All right, enough of that. Not that it was bad, but enough of that. This is the second time in the month in the past month, I should say, because it's a new month. It's October. And we need to get to the Bruins situation because 8 days from today and 6 days from the time of when you start listening to this on Friday will be the start of the NHL season, at least for the Islanders. It might start early for other teams. I thought it was October 10th for everybody, but I could be wrong. Whatever. the Bruins have named their game one starter. It's like the playoffs. They've named their game one starter, and the only reason why it matters is because his name is Jonas Korpisalo. And it's such a shame for everybody involved that this is the situation. Because we've already kind of hashed out that this is messy a few weeks ago when I brought this up, and it was also an But we're 1 week away from this being a bad. We're 3 weeks away from this being an implosion. Go ahead before I continue.
This is horrendous. Like, I understand there's a negotiation to it, but like, I don't think I've ever seen a team fumble this bag as bad as the Bruins have.
Again, just to restate what's going on, starting goalie Jeremy Swayman is in limbo contract-wise right now because himself, well, his camp and the Bruins cannot come to an agreement on a contract. All while Linus Ullmark was shipped off to the Ottawa Senators. And to be honest with you, a lot of people are saying the Senators' goaltending situation is pretty supreme right now. And to be fair, it is. Ullmark is not just good because he was on the Bruins. I don't think he's as good as people say he is, but he is good. I mean, he won the Vezina. He won a Vezina 2 years ago and was darn good last season too. Jeremy Swayman is in a mess, and the biggest problem just happened. There was a press conference with Louis Gross, the agent of Jeremy Swayman, and there was also a press conference with the team. And the team mentioned the figure of $64 million as a number being discussed by both sides. And Jeremy Swayman's agent, Louis Gross, came out and said, I do not make statements. I rarely, if ever, make statements, public statements regarding my clients. But this is not a number that was ever discussed. We are extremely disappointed. This is the quote. This was not fair to Jeremy. We will take a few days to discuss where we go from here. Like, there's lies, there's misdirections, there's a whole mess, and it's about money. And you hate when that happens because it happens all in life and everywhere. Money rules everything. Wu-Tang Clan said it, right? Cash rules everything around me. And that's just how it goes. $64 million is a big number.
I think they're taking that 64, and I think it's so like super inflated. I feel like that's a number they haven't offered Swayman. Swayman said he never got offered that, but they're doing it to paint him in a bad light. Like, oh my God, he hasn't accepted 64. That's so much money.
And that's what people are saying.
And they're immediately now everybody's on the Bruins side. Where it's like, oh, this player's selfish and this and that, and his agent had to come out and be like, hey, that's not true at all. So.
I think his body of work is worth fighting for a contract because he knows that he holds the keys to that team right now. He's got them by the nuts. He does. And the thing is, him and Korpisalo as a tandem are automatically one of the top tandems in this league. And what this does is, like you said, it pits the team against him, where there's now sides, and even if he does get signed, there's still this blemish on the whole situation. Again, remember last year they had arbitration, and the arbitrator decided the contract, but I just would, if I were Ottawa, if I could, I would try to offer sheet this man and try to get both of them on the same team again, because it's just a mess. And to be honest with you, they have less than 2 months to come to an agreement.
Yeah,
less than 2 months.
If he's not signed by Christmas?
By December 1st.
I'm on both sides, honestly. Like, I actually do agree. Like, he's like being selfish in a way.
Okay.
I can't be on Boston's side in this case, and it's not because I hate the organization. It's I mean that team will implode without him.
No, I agree, but he definitely deserves his money. But like, why make such a big deal over 40 million, 60 million,
Well, this is
20 million?
This is the Daniel Jones Saquon Barkley situation where they give Saquon 3 franchise tags in a row, and they give Dan Jones all this money. Saquon leaves, they're screwed now with Jones, and it makes the Giants look really, really bad.
I just think there's too much money. Like, talk in the league. Like, it should be about let's win as a team. Who cares who's getting paid what? We're all getting paid in the millions.
Nikki, if you're the best produce stocker at Stop and Shop, do you want to be compensated fairly as the best produce stocker?
I'm just a produce stocker at the end of the day.
But if you're the best, if that store would literally fall apart without you.
And you know that, and you have that as leverage.
You're asking me to use my like significance as a way to leverage the people that employed me in the first place and and trusted me.
The
Yeah.
problem is, it's the same. It's actually more similar to me because I'm also in a union, and the players are
I'm in a union.
You are?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. They can't get rid of me. The union will fight for me.
Old boys in the fruit union.
What union is it?
I don't know. It's the grocery union.
Yeah, they have one for grocery stores.
No kidding. I wasn't in one at Whole Foods.
Yeah, they stop. Well, I know
Some
Stop
grocery
and Shop,
stores do,
yeah.
some don't.
Stop and Shop usually like strikes every like 4 or 5 years.
Really?
I
You're
can't comment on this
unionized.
at that time.
You're not union. You're unionized.
I am
I didn't
unionized,
know that.
yes.
Do you have to pay into that?
No.
Lucky. I do.
I'm sure it comes out somewhere.
It does. It always does. Oh, it's interesting. But in any event, that's the A of the week. And now we need to get to the bad. So in a wild week of nonsensical takes by the one and only Aunt Barberi, I've decided to wait to talk about those until later. Because the bad this week is the Carolina Panthers. Not for losing a game. Not for losing a game where they didn't play badly. It's not even for any of the players on the field. Nick, did you see this?
I did.
You did.
Well, I didn't see it. I
It
saw your
was
text.
for this. What you just saw was a clip of a fan pouring a full beverage on Bengals running back Chase Brown as he walked off the field. Now, this fan is under investigation. It is classless behavior from a losing team, and I might even add loser behavior. Keep that term in your head for later. Anthony, the Bosco Stick was good, but the Panthers certainly aren't.
Why are you the pot calling the kettle black here?
Why? What,
You
what-
are an Islanders fan. The Islanders are a top 3 classless organization.
Oh,
for fans.
absolutely. You bet they are.
And we're
But it
yeah,
ain't hockey season yet,
Is
my
it a-
friend.
is-
I'm
it
not talking about the Islanders are good. I'm saying the Panthers fans are classless.
Is it a
It
scumbag?
takes one to know one.
Is it a scumbag move? Absolutely.
Thank you. That's all.
Yeah,
That's all. I'm
of
not
course it
talking
is.
about your team.
No,
I'm
of
talking
course
about
it
a
is.
fan.
That's what I'm saying. Of course it is. But we're not throwing batteries at Santa. We're not spitting on Cliff Lee's wife like
Oh,
Philly does.
you're not going to downplay dumping a beer on a guy.
It was a water. It wasn't a
It doesn't matter. It was a bad move.
It was
It
absolutely-
could have been the Jets. It could have been the Giants. It could have been the Islanders. It would have still been on the
Do you
segment.
want to get me going? Do you really want to get me going? Because if we're going to talk about classless fan behavior, we could talk about the Falcons stomping the guy's head in, he's now under investigation for an attempted murder.
Yes, that's bad too.
Why?
But this is the Panthers. And it's funny.
Are we gonna compare the two? Are we gonna compare dumping water on a running
No.
back to almost killing
Yeah,
somebody?
but we're a sports channel here. We don't
it
govern.
happened in the stadium.
Yeah, but we're talking about a player.
Yes,
and
this
the
is
fan.
as it relates to a player.
Not a fan and
Thank
a fan.
you,
We
Nick.
don't care about the general public.
This is how it's going tonight. Just get used to it. Listen, Ant. This is not a knock on the organization. It's not an organization a knock on the players because they had nothing to do
So
with
why
it.
is the bad of the week the Carolina Panthers and not that one Carolina Panthers fan that dumped the water?
Because of this right now. That's why.
insane.
There are layers to it.
There are layers.
Because there's more to
This
talk
has
about.
This is
built
insane.
up. This has been building and festering since Sunday evening. And we're going to talk about it now.
This is insane.
We're going to get right to it.
I'm flipping this because that's off.
Anthony, I know. Yeah, the streams, the ESPN is not working. How could they do that? All right, listen. So He's looking at me because he knows where this is headed. So Anthony, after the Panthers' latest game, which was a 10-point plus loss to the Cincinnati Bengals, he's gonna get up the stats, and I don't really care about the stats. Anthony is gonna insist that, or he made some comments. I could pull them up, but I don't really.
I'm
need to,
working on it.
that the Panthers don't suck. And despite their 1-3 record and their 1-1 record since Andy Dalton took over, that they are somehow a good team. And so really the meat of the problem here is that he's wrong. But we're going to figure out how today. We're going to dive into this. So Nikki and I and Anthony all have things to say, and Anthony's waiting to talk about it, and I would like to hear how I'm wrong about this. The Bengals suck. The Dolphins suck. The Cardinals suck. And the Raiders suck. And the Panthers suck. They all suck, and so do the Giants. There's nothing to discuss. They suck. They're not a good team.
You can't just if a team is 1-2, or if a team is 1-3.
Yeah.
You're going to say they suck. If this team turns around and wins 5 straight games and they're 6-3, or do they suck again?
I am still waiting for that 5-game win streak you said they're going on.
Answer.
No, they won't. If they
turn around and they beat the Bears this week, which they're going to.
Here we go again. They were supposed to beat the Bengals this week, and they lost by double digits. This is where I have a problem. I'm not saying they can't. I'm saying they won't, because they already proved you wrong. They already proved you wrong. You said they're going to go on a 6-game heater last week. I could pull up the tape, and they're still losing by double digits. They lost by basically 2 scores. They had a chance to come down and make it at least within 5.5 points so the parlay could hit.
And that's the only reason you're mad at me right there.
No, I'm not mad at you. No, that was a sidebar. But they couldn't even get it close within the last few minutes. They had 2 drives. I was watching the game, too. I saw it. They weren't good in the 4th quarter. The team was not better than the Bengals. The Bengals were the better team.
I can absolutely agree to that.
And I'm just saying, the Bengals, who are 0-3, are a trash team this year.
The Bengals have more. The Bengals have more talent than the Panthers do.
Okay, so then the Panthers just suck then.
They're
1-3.
We said, do we hit the panic button on the Bengals last week? I said we all kind of said yes.
Yeah.
Okay? They turned it around. They immediately turned it around. Was it because they didn't play an elite team in the Panthers? Absolutely. They have to play the Ravens this week. So I take that with a grain of salt. Joe Burrow's heating up, and the division games are always tough. Everybody knows this. But if the Bengals turn around and rip out 5-6 wins in a row, Bengals don't suck anymore.
No, they don't, and neither do the Panthers. What's your point? The Panthers don't suck if they win 6 in a row. I'm saying they suck right now. They're 1-3.
But I said this in the chat, and you laughed at me.
I'm sure I did. I will again.
The Panthers played a better game against the Bengals for what they had on the field than they played against the Raiders.
Okay, but I laughed because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how they played because they lost. This is the whole point. They play a good game, and they still lost by double digits.
It was first off, it was a fraudulent double digit.
I don't care what it was. It was double digits, and they lost. They won a game. They looked grand 2 weeks ago. They looked phenomenal. We all said, "Wow, this team is legit. This team is going to rattle off some wins. Let's put the rent on this team." And then they pooped the bed. And I do mean boat.
Despite what the game versus the Raiders, the game versus the Bengals. Against Cincinnati, they had 373 yards allowed and 375 total yards of offense. Against the Raiders, who are, we can all agree, far less talented than the Bengals.
Yes.
Can we agree on that? They are less talented on both sides of the ball.
Okay. So that's why the Panthers beat them.
That doesn't matter. Is UConn a better team than Notre Dame?
I'm not talking about
No,
UConn and
no,
Notre
no.
Dame.
It is because you're trying to say that if they beat the Raiders, they should have in turn then beat the Bengals.
But what are you trying to say?
I'm trying to say that that's not how football works.
Okay. So what's your point?
Is UConn better than Notre Dame?
I'm not talking about UConn and Notre Dame.
Because if we follow your line,
I don't even know if UConn's better than Notre Dame.
If we follow your line of thinking,
cares?
they're a better team because UConn beat Buffalo, Buffalo beat Northern Illinois.
Actually, that was
Northern
something you
Illinois-
said.
What?
You said that. You said technically UConn was better than Notre Dame.
Technically, yes.
He said that. I didn't say. Listen, Anthony.
No,
I'm not. I don't know. I don't know what your point is here. The problem here is that you're comparing two different games, but again, you have to look at the record of the team. It still didn't matter because they lost. That doesn't matter to you. I know.
Chris.
Losing right. Leicester City lost to Arsenal, and they played a really good game. And I said I'm really proud of them. I said they could use this as a building block, sure, but they have 40-something games. This season is not 40 games long. It's only 17 games long, and so they're already 4 games in. They're about a quarter of the way into the season, and they're in the doldrums.
They're not performing. They're not performing like a bad team. Is what I'm trying to get here.
Okay, but they're still losing.
Yeah, they
And
lost.
that's alarming.
It just means they lost.
Yeah, but that's concerning.
I'm more concerned about the Jets losing.
That's a whole different situation. But that's a concerning thing. I think any Panthers fan should be concerned at this point.
Absolutely not. There's a reason that we had a fan dumping water on Chase Brown this week
Because they're classless.
and not wearing paper bags. There's a reason that the Bank of America Stadium didn't have as many empty seats as it did against the Chargers.
Right, because they were exciting for a week.
And they're going to be just as exciting next week when the Bears come into town.
I hope Caleb Williams tramples them.
It's not going to happen. Caleb Williams is a fraud.
I hope he tramples that franchise. And he may well go off for 350.
And we're going to mention
3-1.
and we're going to mention that they were bad in the fourth quarter. They didn't have Adam Thielen because his old man hamstring popped when he was diving for a touchdown. They didn't have Shaq Thompson, who's done for the season because he tore his Achilles.
That's a crushing injury.
He had like 50s. He was top 5 in the league with tackles.
That's a big deal.
They didn't have Josie Jewell for the whole second half, who is, I believe, second in tackles. So they're running out a third and a fourth string linebacker. Not to mention they don't have their nose guard Shy Tuttle because he was hurt, and they don't have their left guard Damian Lewis. Also, not to mention Derek Brown. So of course you're going to run the ball against a team with a third string defensive end, a second string defensive tackle, and a third and fourth string linebacker.
Hey,
core.
I got no argument to that whatsoever. I think that's a great point. I really think it's a good point. But now let me ask you, as a fan, why doesn't that concern you? Because you said there are guys with injuries. Why are you still not concerned despite their 1-3 record and all these guys that are now getting hurt?
Because if you look at it apples to apples, Chuba Hubbard had a fantastic game again.
He did have a good game.
The Carolina Panthers offensive line is the number 1 ranked pass blocking offensive line in the league statistically. They are top 10 run blocking statistically. Andy Dalton is playing out of his mind. Deontay Johnson is playing out of his mind. Xavier Legette is now starting to get things happening.
He had a nice game, too.
They're getting a tight end back. They're getting a cornerback back. J.C. Horn, do you know how many catches that Jamar Chase had on J.C. Horn?
No.
1 for like 15 yards.
All right.
So apples to apples, each player is playing really well.
And the problem I have with that is that it still wasn't enough.
You guys are crazy. Honestly. Both of you are delusional.
Why?
Because they're not as bad as you're making them sound, but they're not as good as you're making them sound. Like, they're just an average team
I
at
think
best.
they're absolutely mediocre.
No, you're saying they suck. You're saying they're
I'm
like going on a 5-game
He
winning
says
streak.
they're going to make the playoffs!
9
9 and 8.
Maybe not wins. 9 wins is 9 wins is mediocre. That's 500.
It's above 500.
Well,
Statistically speaking.
you can't go 500 in the NFL anymore.
They're an okay team. They're not good. Genuine. They're not.
They're not turning heads.
And then on Sunday when Caleb Williams torches them, it might be over.
He's not going
It
to.
might be over.
There's no
I think
chance.
that is going to be a battle of
That
who
might be
and
the end of the
bothers.
week.
Why and bother. It's going to be the battle of no one cares. And I'll tell you why. Because it's going to be like 13-13 in the fourth quarter. And the Bears are going to kick a game-winning field goal. It's just going to be a middling mess of a game. I got so excited for this game, and they were a step behind the Bengals the whole game.
You were not watching the same game I was watching.
Statistically speaking, they were a step behind the Bengals the
The
whole game.
only reason that they lost this game
It's because the Bengals scored more points.
is because the Bengals double dipped. They scored right before halftime and right after halftime.
And that is a direct result of the Panthers allowing it to happen. That's all.
They're not that bad.
No, I'm just pressing him right now. That's all.
I mean, sincerely, for the players that they're turning out on the field, every single one of them is far overplaying their expectations.
You know what? For the players they have on their field, they're the Chiefs, Ant. They're the Chiefs. They should be 4-0.
What are you talking? Oh my God, no, we're not going to move on. What are you talking about?
I'm just saying, I'll give it to you. For the players they have out there, they might just call them Kansas City. They're playing so great. In fact, they're playing so great that they're 1-3.
The Bengals are also 1-3.
They gotta win.
The Bengals are also 1-3, and they have quite possibly the best wide receiver 1 in the NFL. They have a top 5 wide receiver 2 in the NFL.
Good.
They have a top 5 wide receiver 3 in the NFL. They have a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, and as of right now, their running game is pretty average. So, what 1-3 are we arguing more about? The Panthers with not questionably, worse players skill-wise.
I think he said they both suck, to be honest.
I did. I said they both suck because they're both 1-3.
It's insane. You can't. This is gonna sound so stupid, but
Careful.
you can't judge how well a team is playing based off of their record
Okay.
as of this point in
All
the
right,
season.
I'm going to stop because we're going to clip that clip out and we're going to record that.
Who is the best team in the league right now? Who is the best team?
Well, people would argue with this, but I think the Chiefs are.
Wrong.
Okay, we're going to move on.
Easily because they have the number 1 offense and the number 1 defense. The best team in the NFL right now is the Baltimore Ravens.
Okay, well, their record doesn't reflect that.
I forgot they gave the Super Bowl trophy to the best record. I apologize.
I'm just saying. I mean,
The Lombardi goes to the best
if you
record.
want to talk about the Panthers with what they have, the Chiefs with what they have are undefeated right now, and they
Chiefs-
don't have as much as the Ravens have.
The Chiefs have the best quarterback of all time, the most talented quarterback of all time, and a top 2 defense.
Okay. Okay, well, the Panthers have the top pass defense, whatever you want to
So,
say.
pass blocking. Only.
Pass blocking.
If the
And they're 1-3.
Okay, the Giants won the Super Bowl at what 9-8.
I know that's an anomaly.
9-7?
Statistically speaking, that's an anomaly.
Okay,
The Panthers aren't winning the world.
no, but
That's what you make it sound like.
my whole
be
no.
fair.
I've never said they're never gonna win the Super Bowl. I never said they were gonna win the Super Bowl
You just said they were contenders.
to make the playoffs. Yes,
Not a contender to make anything.
it's gonna happen, baby.
They're not making the playoffs. Anthony, what if they lose to the Bears?
They're not going to, so I'm not worried about it.
All right, but you have now. See, here's where you're getting out of line with this. You have to look at it from both sides.
Okay, if they
If
lose,
they
if
lose
they
to
lose
the Bears, now what?
did they play a good game?
Now they're 1-4.
Okay, did they play a good game?
Yes.
They played fine, but they lost at a last-second field goal.
I'm fine with it.
What if they then go and lose the next game and they're 1-5, and then they're 1-16 at the end of it all? They played 17 really good games, but they lost 16 of them.
Each week it's 0-0.
We
Baby.
grew, we learned, and we grew. Oh man, it was like my high school lacrosse team freshman year. We lost every game, but the last game was our best game because we lost by the fewest amount of points. I swear to God.
So you guys didn't suck at the end.
I didn't know we didn't suck, but we still lost. Which verified that we did indeed still suck because our best was still a loss by 6 goals.
Listen, man.
This is true story.
Listen, they week 1 they looked horrendous. We watched that game together.
Yes.
Week 2 they looked a little less horrendous. Week 3 they looked really good. Week 4 they looked really good.
Okay. All right, Ant. I'll let you have it.
Okay,
give
before we get here, let me ask you one more question. Baltimore loses their next game. The Panthers win their next game.
What about it?
What team is better?
There is not
What
a
team is better, Chris?
single
What?
day that
Nope.
goes by
What
that
team
the
is better?
Panthers are better than Baltimore.
But Baltimore and the Panthers would have the same record.
Oh,
And the Panthers beat a team that the Ravens couldn't beat. So by your standing, however your head works, they're equal.
I'm just looking at it statistically speaking. I'm just looking at the black and white here, and I would be if I had a football team, if I had an NFL team, okay, because I don't, and this is why I can do this because I don't support a team like you do, and that's totally fine. But if I were a fan and my team was 1-3, I would be concerned. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And all right, say they win, they go 2-3. All right, good. That's great. They should beat the Bears. They should. I'm not saying they aren't going to, but I thought they had a legitimate chance to beat the Bengals,
They did have a legitimate
and
chance
they
to beat the Bengals.
and they didn't. That's the problem I have.
But that happens.
It does happen, but you
this
don't
was-
have as much leeway when you're already 1-2, and now they're 1-3. They're starting to dig a hole.
Yes, but what I'm trying to say is by your standards, if Baltimore loses next week to the Bengals, there's a real shot they lose to the Bengals. Baltimore will still be the best team in the league, regardless of them being 2-3.
That's painful. That's a painful take. You can't, the 2-3 team is not the best team in the league.
Not if they have the most points scored, the highest off the number one score, the number one offense, the number one defense. Nothing.
No,
None of that.
because none of it has mattered. If they're 2-3, that means they suck. If they have the best everything and they're 2-3, then you suck.
That's not how it works.
It is how it works.
It's not.
If they were the best team, then they would have a good record.
So every Super Bowl winner every single year should be undefeated.
no, but statistically speaking, undefeated teams make the playoffs.
Well, yes, but
Okay.
they've only one has ever won.
Well, if the Ravens have the best this and the best that and the best other thing, and they don't make the playoffs, then they're not the best team. They're not. If they continue on the trajectory they're on, they're not the best team if they don't make the playoffs. Are they?
this is insane.
How could
What's
they be the
insane
best
about
team
that?
if they don't
Wait.
make the playoffs? How could they be the best team? Answer the question. If they don't make the playoffs, how is that possible?
If you have the best offense and the best defense, you are the best team.
All right, we're not getting anywhere. Nick, can you make some sense of this? Can you answer that question I just asked him? I'm going to ask it to you now. How could you be the best team if you miss the playoffs?
Logistically, it's impossible.
Thank you. Like realistically, that's not possible, right?
You cannot.
because you can't be good if you miss the playoffs. So
There's
like,
a reason you said the Chiefs are the best team right now.
there's no
The only-
way
the
the
only
Chiefs aren't making the playoffs.
They will probably be the best team.
The Chiefs aren't. No. The Ravens are the best team in the league right now.
Not
They're
statistically
not
speaking.
playing like it though. They can be the most talented in the league right now.
You could say they have the most talent, but they're not the best team.
They don't have the most talent.
Then how can they be the
Anthony,
best
this
team if
is.
they're not winning
Are
games?
you sure you're okay? Because this is like
What are
really.
you guys?
How
what are you
can
not
they
getting?
have the best team if they're not winning games?
That's all you need to say. How are they the best team if they're not winning?
The best teams find ways to win games. That's what the Vikings have done. That's what the Chiefs have
You
done.
want to talk about good teams? Talk about the Vikings, who were not supposed to be 4-0, and they are. They don't have the best personnel, but they sure look like one of the best teams in the NFL right now. They weren't supposed to be, and they find a way to win. They took a huge lead against Green Bay, and they let Green Bay come back, but they held on.
And that's what makes a team a best
That
team.
is what makes teams good, not their stats. A team's, who cares what players do? It's a team sport. It doesn't matter. If they win the game, they win the game. That's what makes them the best team if they're winning games. You cannot make the playoffs. If you miss the playoffs, you're not the best team. When has a good team ever missed the playoffs?
So if an 11 win, let's say 3 teams in the same division have 11 wins, an 11 win team misses the playoffs.
Okay.
If an 8 and 9 team squeaks in because
happens.
they won the division, is that 8 and 9 team better than that 11 win team because they made the playoffs with
Absolutely
a losing
not.
record? Thank you.
Well, now we're talking about different divisions.
No, we're
though.
not. We're talking about the same exact
If
thing.
now that
if
happens
that 11
in
and
sports.
5 team was the best team, then they wouldn't have lost 5 games.
That is ridiculous.
None of those 11-win teams are the best team.
Correct. Thank you.
They could be 3 of them.
insane.
None of them would be the best. They
That's
were all
ins-
good.
this is insane.
11 and 5 is a
Yeah,
good
that's
season.
A very good season.
It's a very good
But they
season.
weren't the best team because they didn't have the best record.
This is insane. So
11 wins will not be the
So
best
are we?
team.
So are we basing it off of record? Are we basing it off of who makes the playoffs? Are we basing it off of who wins the Super
Well,
Bowl?
statistically speaking, the teams with the best record are the best teams in the standings. And I'm not saying, because you always get one division where an 8 and 9 team makes the
Yeah,
playoffs
of course.
fraudulently. And and nobody thinks they're the best team because they're not. They were the best team in their division, and that's why there's a divisional winner.
So if they're 8 and 9 and they win the Super Bowl, are they then the best team?
Yes,
100%.
you bet they are because they won the Super Bowl.
Yes, I agree with that.
But we're not talking about the Super Bowl. We're talking about Week 5.
Yes, I know.
So, the Ravens at 2 and 2 are not the best team. If they win the Super Bowl, if they are the Super Bowl champion, then yes, they're the best team. The best team is the one that wins the Super Bowl.
This is insane.
What is
the championship in a sport mean? It's not random.
The championship means you're the best team. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so the Ravens haven't won anything. Anytime.
Neither have the Chiefs.
The Chiefs are the 2-time defending champion,
They were the best team last year.
and the year before,
And they're
Okay.
currently 4-0.
and they're undefeated. This is insane.
Are the Vikings better than the Chiefs?
Ooh, that would be a good
Not
game.
yet, because they're not 2-time defending champs.
No, they're not. They are not nearly as talented as the Chiefs, nor are they as good as a team.
But if they win this year, they will be the best team.
That's the best
Yes.
team.
Yeah.
If a 4-win team somehow makes the playoffs and they win the Super Bowl, they are the best team. Yes.
Yep.
won't
100%.
happen.
It will never happen, but I'm just saying.
So that's a moot point. We'll throw that one away. That gets tossed. The 4-win team doesn't win the Super Bowl. That's a silly.
So by your logic, why is the President's Cup not the Stanley Cup champion every year? They're the best team.
The President's Trophy, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Whoever wins the President's Trophy was the best team in the
In
regular,
the season, they were the best team. That's literally
So
what it says.
currently, the Chiefs and the Vikings are the best teams right now.
Right.
You can't go off of record, though.
But that's what
But they have
determines the
performed the
President's
best.
Trophy.
They
Yes,
have performed the best.
But you guys are arguing against your own points every time. You're saying the best record, and then it's who wins the Super Bowl.
The best
Because
we're
we're talking
about the
about this
regular
week.
season and the playoffs.
and
If
week
the
5.
best team in the regular season finishes with no losses in the NFL, we're not saying they're the best team. They were the best team in the regular season. Not the playoffs are a different animal, as we've seen in Major League Baseball already, which we'll get to sometime. We will get to it, and we'll show how the best team doesn't always win this. The best team in the regular season doesn't always win the championship. But by default, the team that wins the championship is the best team. So you're telling me right now, because we're in the regular season in football, that the Ravens are the best team, but they're not. They're not the best team because they don't have the best record. What if you want to put them up in a playoff game against the Chiefs right now and say that the Ravens would win, that's fine. I'm not saying you'd be wrong necessarily. I mean, maybe I'd take the Chiefs in that game, but that's beside the point. What I'm saying is that statistically speaking, record-wise, they're not the best team right now. If they make the playoffs, it's a different ballgame. Then it's reset. We're not talking about a 1-4, 1-3 team resetting every week. We're talking about a 0-0 record in the playoffs and the offs.
I just don't understand how you are arguing your own point.
I'm not. How is this an argument on our own point, Anthony?
You're trying.
How is this an argument on our own point? We're saying there's the best team in the regular season, then it starts over. The best team in the playoffs is now the best team.
So next week, if the Chiefs lose and the Vikings win, the Vikings are now the best team in the league.
Correct.
If the Vikings lose and the Chiefs and somebody else comes up, there could be a tie for the 16 best teams in the league.
Correct.
If they all have the same record.
Sure.
That's insane. There's best records in the league. There is not the difference between a best record and the best team is miles apart.
This is like this is like Jeremy Swayman and the Bruins. There's never going to be a happy medium, Matt.
No.
And
Because how are you?
And this all started with Anthony saying the Panthers are a good team, by the way, which is a lie.
You can't be the best team if you are not winning games. Like, it's that simple. How
If you're
can
struggling
you be the
to
best
put away
team?
teams 4 games into a season, you're not the best team. I don't want to hear about it. If you're 2-2,
How are the
no
Ravens the best
2-2
team?
is the best team. No 1-3 team is a good team. Right now,
your take is insane.
They might be the most talented team, but they have not been playing as the best team in the league.
no way.
They are hands down the most complete team in the league.
Well, they haven't
But their
played like
record
it.
doesn't show that, and therefore they're not the best right now.
But in
On
the
They
paper,
could be.
on paper, they
But
could
in
be.
the regular season, the record does not matter.
Yes, it does.
No, it does. It matters for playoff seeding, and that is it.
Okay.
It determines if you go to the playoffs.
That's all that matters.
That seems
Well,
like
that's a pretty big
thing.
deal. Because right now, if you want to talk about how records don't matter, the Panthers are not a playoff team, and that's because of their record. If they were 3-1, they would be a playoff team right now,
But the playoffs,
and they're not.
But the playoffs don't start for 12 weeks,
Correct.
13 weeks. So, again, you can't say
We're
it's a-
talking about after week 4, though, that the Ravens are not the best team. That's
But
what
you
we're saying.
can't. My thing is I just don't understand how you can't. You're just going to flip flop every week.
Why can't we?
The Ravens aren't the best team. The Ravens are the best team. The
Well, it's a
Ravens
free
are the best team.
country. I can say whatever I want.
Well, yes.
I mean, you say the Panthers are good, and that's not true.
Obviously, you can say whatever you want. But the
You just contradicted yourself too, Anthony.
How did I
Because you
contradict
say the
myself?
Panthers are good, and then you say I can't flip flop. The Panthers are terrible. They suck. They're 1-3.
I really don't get. I just don't get.
You
it.
just can't be the best team starting with season 2-2. You simply cannot be.
I could go on all day. This is like arguing with my students. They're like, you didn't say that. Yes, I did. No, you didn't. Yes, I did. No, you didn't.
So let me just put this. We'll end on this. We'll
let you get the last word. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know. I want to say something. I want you to respond to me.
Okay.
Last year, the best team coming into the season was the Chiefs. They finished the season as the Super Bowl champion. They were 0-1 after week 1.
Okay.
After the week 1 standings, were you saying Chiefs suck? They're 0-1. These
No.
guys are horrible.
Nope.
Why?
Because we weren't almost a quarter of the way through the season yet.
That's right.
It does-
That matters. That matters. We're a quarter of the way in now. We're not one game in. Of course, half the teams are going to win week 1, and half the teams are going to lose week 1. That's just the way sports work. Somebody wins and somebody loses. But when you have 4 games,
That's a large enough
that's a
sample
big
size
enough
to
sample.
make
Yes.
a determinant.
And the Panthers are in a state of flux right now because they changed quarterbacks and everything, and they've got the injuries and things like that. And if we're talking strictly about the Panthers, again, they haven't proven that they're good enough to make the playoffs so far. That's just what the record shows. Their record is an accurate reflection of their progress this season. They are 1-3, and I feel like they deserve to be 1-3. There are other teams like that too. I think they deserve to be 1-3.
And right now, he's looking up the Chiefs' record after 4 games in the last season. And if they were 0-4, then they were not the best team at that point in the
I
season.
100%
and then they
agree.
turned it around and
And
were
they
able to get the
became it.
playoffs and win the Super Bowl and became the best team.
And that's not a contradiction.
This is insane.
Because that's how sports work. You can be the worst team for the first quarter of the season.
I mean, think about the St. Louis Blues of 2019. Okay? At Thanksgiving, this team was in last place in the Western Conference. Did anybody think they were the best team then? No. Did anybody think they were the worst team? Mm-hmm. Because they were. They were, Anthony and Nick. They won the Stanley Cup. Does that mean they finished the season as the best team? You bet it did. They were the
Does that mean
best
they were
team.
the best team at the beginning of the season? Or in
No.
Thanksgiving time? Or
No.
Christmas time?
Were they the favorite to win the cup at the playoffs start? No. But they finished as the best team.
Indeed they did.
So that goes to show. Just because I said they suck in November at Thanksgiving, because they sucked, doesn't mean that they sucked in June when they won the cup. So if I say the Ravens are not the best team right now, that doesn't mean I can't say they're the best team if they win the Super Bowl, because they would be the best team. How is that insane? I just gave you an exact example of how my point is not insane.
I get that.
I worked at NHL Network during that time.
I know. I get
Trust
that.
me.
I was thinking of the same exact situation. I get that. But you're just blanket. I think I'm more upset with your phrasing, I would assume, because your blanket statement, this team sucks.
Oh,
this
that's just
team
to get you
sucks.
going.
No, you said it about the Bengals. You said the Bengals also suck. They lost to a
But
team
I
that
didn't.
sucked.
I didn't agree with him.
I don't
on
think
that.
they suck. I think they haven't played as well as they should.
I said they're
So
okay. I didn't say
they're-
they suck.
So you're saying they're better than their record.
No, I think they deserve to be 1-3 because that's the record they have. I think they should be better. That doesn't mean I think they're better. I think they should be. But they haven't been.
I think the Ravens should be 4-0. They should have beat the Chiefs.
But that doesn't
They
matter. That's
should
not my
have
point.
beat the Raiders.
That's not my point. My point is that they're not. That's all. It's concrete. They're 2-2. They're not the best team. The end. That's my point. That's my opinion.
So we're just doing Chris's power rankings.
No, I just said you asked me to answer the question. And I gave you an example, and I said, in my opinion, they're not the best team.
So
if you think they're the best team, that's okay.
So if you
but
were to
you're
give-
telling me I'm wrong.
So if you were to give power rankings, as they do in the NFL, and they do throughout everything, your power rankings would go in record order.
No.
More goes into power rankings than just record, though.
I'm not asking. Nobody asked you to do power rankings.
Power rankings, like,
But I would put the
talks about
Chiefs
a
and the
lot more than
Vikings at
record.
1 and 2. You bet I would. You bet I would, because statistically speaking, they've been the best two teams. And the reason why is because they're 4
And
and
he's going
0.
to tell us the power rankings right now, and it's the Chiefs and then the Lions are in second in the power rankings.
I put the Lions up there. But if a team started 0 and 1 and is now 3 and 1, then they'd be higher than a team that was 0 and 3 and is now 1 and 3.
It's Vikings, Chiefs, Lions,
That's
Bills.
it. That's it. Vikings, Chiefs, the best records.
Okay, Baltimore's at number 6 at 2 and 2.
Okay. So? Well, I have no problem with that.
They have a better record than the 3 and.
But the key, Ant, is that they're not 1 or 2. And
They
that's
are
what you
not the
said.
best team.
You said they are number 1. And statistically speaking, and according to the power rankings, which you just told me to make, they are not either 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. They are 6. And I think that's an appropriate place. I think they're a very good team, but they're not the best. And you just proved why. Thank you. Case closed. Case closed, Nick!
It's 3-2 minutes, top 6.
I was just going
Very
to
good.
check. That was a great transition.
We love each other. We really do care for each other. This has been
This
brewing.
I was gonna say this has been brewing.
Give me a hug. Give me a big hug. I do love this guy. We really are best friends. We haven't had one like that in so
I
long.
think this is the first one we've ever had.
That was awesome. That was a true. This is not manufactured for the show. This was a true disagreement.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you're about to get round 2.
It's not over.
Oh, do you need me to get a card?
It's not over yet. This is round
Nikki's going to be the
2.
ring girl. I'm just going to say my bold statement.
Wait. But wait, before we do that, I did want to mention something that we could all agree on, and it's Joe Flacco is the GOAT.
It's awesome.
He's just awesome.
Can you put in the Stavros Halkias clip where he goes, "Some I trust about Flacco"?
Yes.
Can you put that in for
Yes,
me?
I really thought he was done after the Browns.
Dude, this guy's
I mean, he had
insane.
an insane year with the Browns.
Dude,
Yeah.
he's older than Anthony Richardson's mother.
Yeah. That's insane.
He's been in the league since 2008.
He's like these young boys. He's like, I played against Troy and I played against Ed Reed. Let the boys sling. Not against Ed Reed because he's on the same team as Ed Reed, but let the boys sling it.
I mean, he's 16 of 26 with 168 yards, 2 touchdowns, and this was a Colts team that needed him to
This is
perform
insane.
in order to win a tight game, and they won the game.
I'm very afraid that the Colts are going to RG3.
Do either
Anthony
of you
Richardson.
Do either of you have quarterbacks as your grinder?
Yes, I do.
No, I don't.
An NFL quarterback?
I don't have a quarterback. Mine goes hand in hand with argument
All
number
three?
2.
Oh, okay.
I have
I was going to bring up one of them, but
mine goes hand in hand with argument number 2, so I'll save mine.
I'll start with argument number 2.
Go ahead,
We didn't even
Anthony.
get to touch on the Jets and their loser fan base, but we are going to talk about their loser fan base because the Jets' loser fan base and the Mets' loser fan base usually overlap. The Mets celebrating. Okay. Now, I've since retracted this statement, but Chris has got me fired up, so I'm just going to say it. The Mets celebrating by popping bottles after they lost to the Braves in that second game. I understand they just made the playoffs. It's loser behavior. At least celebrate with no cameras in there.
I have never won anything before like that, so I don't know what it really feels like. I mean, I've won men's league championships. Anthony watched me win a men's league championship.
I was there.
He was in attendance. But what a whack job you are, to be honest. What are you talking about? I mean, this is the same thing.
Seriously, I don't even mind the Panthers take after hearing that again.
Right,
Because
that's
that
not even
is
bad.
just one of the worst things, honestly, ever.
How are they going to celebrate making the playoffs after the first game of a doubleheader?
I've since said, since the league told them to celebrate at the very end, I've retracted that statement.
Okay, so why are you saying it again?
Because
I didn't even put that in the notes. I wasn't even going to bring it up.
I just wanted an excuse.
Completely
Wait.
asinine.
So if the MLB didn't ask them to do that,
That's loser activity. You go back and you celebrate after that game and you get ready to go play the second game.
So you do the champagne and everything and then go
Yeah.
out?
You
Sloshed.
You don't get hammered.
I don't think that's a good look.
What is a good look?
I don't think that would have been a good look
Celebrating
for the team.
before the second game?
No.
Why?
because
then it looks like you're not
because
getting prepared
players
for the
are
second game.
imbibing in alcoholic
If
beverages.
you keep the alcohol away, that's celebrate.
Well,
that
that's
way.
not
Of course
much of a
they
celebration.
celebrated after the first game. They just didn't televise it. They're not popping bottles after the first game, man.
So-
Do you really think they all got on the field and celebrated?
Yes. So do that. Pop bottles on the plane.
Oh boy.
How can
I
you
think after
listen,
you get on the plane, in the circumstances the Mets were in that they had to go play Milwaukee the next night, and they won that game, by the way, which we'll get to. I think by the time you get on the plane, Mendoza's telling the guys, we're done. We're done. The celebration's done when we leave the locker
I
room.
can almost guarantee you 95% of the Mets played hungover yesterday, which makes that win actually impressive.
Not just the fact that they won 8-4. That was Oh boy, this guy rides anybody playing the Mets. Anthony, the real problem I had is that you texted in the group and said, "Congrats, the Mets just won their World Series when they won Game 161," which was, for all intents and purposes, one of the best Mets games in their history.
That was one of the best baseball games I've ever seen.
Not in terms of the Mets dominating a game, but just in terms of excitement, okay? But the Mets did something which is pretty incredible to me, is that they won this game, did their celebration, whatever, move on from that. You did retract it. We're just going on and on. We're going on about it. But then they had to go play at 5:30 the next day after a doubleheader. They played 4 games in 3 days.
I did say the Mets got screwed in that. I did.
They
I don't know,
really
I don't know if I
did.
told you guys, but I definitely said it at work that they should have bumped the Mets and the Braves games back.
I agree.
I agree with that.
But they didn't. And so the Mets played, no doubt tired, exhausted from the high of winning. They didn't care about losing the second game. I wouldn't care if I
Yes,
were
they did. They absolutely cared about losing that second game. And if they didn't, that's a joke.
To be honest with you, Anthony, I'm going to compare it to the Islanders for a minute. So the Islanders clinched the playoffs the second to last game of the season this past season, which was miraculous, as we all know. The last game of the season was against the Penguins. and the Islanders won the game like 5-4 in regulation. I didn't care what happened in that game. The players were all giggling on the bench. They were playing free. They were happy. They were up like 3-0, then it was 3-3, then they went up, and then they tied. The Penguins tied it, then they went up. It was a whole thing. The Penguins also didn't care because they had been eliminated too. It was a no one cares. I didn't care, and to be honest with you, I think it behooved the Mets to not care because they were able to get on that plane and not have to. Like if they had to win the second game, I think they would have been in a way worse spot yesterday against the Brewers.
So my thing is, if the Mets didn't, if we're saying that they didn't want to win that second game, why did they only give Lindor a game off? They didn't roll out a punt lineup. They rolled out pretty much their 1A lineup. If you're saying you don't care, you have the opportunity to beat your rival at home, to eliminate them out of the playoffs, to get you a higher seed in the playoffs, to play, in theory, the weaker team in the Padres.
I think they wanted to play the Brewers.
That's an insane take. Granted, they won yesterday and they're up right now. They played the Brewers last week with their A lineup. The Brewers were rolling out punt lineups, and they dropped 2 of 3.
I know.
When they had to win the game.
This is a weird team. This is a very strange group. And it seems like they want this season to be the year that they exorcise the demons. And they certainly did that by clinching the playoffs in Atlanta. They did that. That is their house of horrors. And to be honest with you, and you saw the game. It for a lot of the time, especially after the Mets took the lead and scored 6 and then gave it right back up. I don't know if there was a Mets fan alive or a baseball fan alive that thought the Mets were going to come back and win that game because it was like, oh no, here we go. Not to mention Gary Cohen said they've already, and Keith and Ron were already saying that they had exorcised the demons. They conquered the house of horrors after it was the 8th inning. I was like, guys, there's still 2 innings left. 2 times the Braves have to bat, and they made them pay one of the times. To come back from that and do what they've done, I think is remarkable. I think it's greater than the hatred you're giving them. I think you've got to tip your cap to the work they've put in. This team has really rallied together, and I think they wanted to play the Brewers. I think they didn't care who it was. Listen, no team ever was trying to lose a game, really. We know that teams try to tank and stuff.
But I think mentally you're a little checked out after you know you've clinched.
Absolutely. That's what I was talking about with the Islanders. None of those guys were like invested in that last game. They didn't
you can still get your reps in, still stay warmed up for tomorrow. You have to play again, but
I think the difference is Atlanta still had a chance to make the playoffs.
And they did.
Yeah.
I said at Target the night before the game to Melissa, I said both managers should have just got together and say, we'll give you one. We'll take the other one.
Honestly, yeah.
Why not? Because the Mets looked completely listless in the second game. I mean, they did.
Yeah, I'll never forget when that happened in the NFL. They could have drew.
It was
the Raiders
that was the Raiders.
else.
It was the Raiders and the Raiders and the Chargers.
And they could have drew if they didn't take the timeout.
Yeah,
to kick the field goal or whatever.
If they tied, they would have kicked.
They both would have made it.
They would have both made it, and they would have kicked somebody out of the playoffs. And then the Chargers kicked the game-winning field goal to win. And
yeah, they called the timeout with 3 seconds or whatever.
Yeah.
That was awful. That broke my heart, man.
I wanted that. I remember where I was. Well,
That's kind of. I mean, they knew what was at stake and they exploited it.
That broke my heart.
But I mean, the Mets were checked out of that second game. They were. They had no way of winning that game. There's no way they were winning. I mean, they just weren't. But loser behavior, womp womp.
No. So the hatred I have for the Mets. I used to be different, right? I used to not hate the Mets. Honestly, I saw them as the Yankees' little brother. They were annoying. They were scrappy.
I used that term.
But Yankees were always the big brother. That's just how it felt, right? I loved Jose Reyes. I loved the days of. Yes. I loved Reyes. I loved Beltran. I loved. I mean, I had Mets posters in my room next to my Yankee posters.
Yeah.
I had a poster of Pedro.
Mike Piazza.
I had a David Wright poster. So it's like I like these guys, right? What the fans have done to me, they have ruined the Mets for me. They have made me want to hate this team with every fiber of my being.
Yeah, Mets
can
fans are
agree with
rough.
that,
They're
yeah.
rough.
And it's the same thing with the Jets fans, right? And I listen, Mo, I know you're listening. This is for you, pal. I just because it's a hard thing to explain because you could put it in perspective like every Mets fan is like, no, this is it. This is going to be the year. We're winning the whole thing. They get bounced. The first thing they're going to say, we weren't ready anyway. This isn't even the best lineup we're going to roll out. We're going to get so many more players in the offseason.
They do
No,
that. No, they
it's
complain.
the same
and
thing.
They moan about
it's
everything.
the same thing every year. We're gonna have the best offseason. We're gonna sign LeMahieu and we're gonna get Bauer and we're gonna get this person. Bauer goes to Dodgers. I didn't want Bauer anyway. LeMahieu goes back to the Yankees. Well, he's overrated anyway.
When the whole fiasco with who was it, Correa or was it?
Yeah. When they signed Correa.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I want. This is the best Puerto Rican team ever.
And then the physical got failed or whatever.
We didn't want him anyway.
Wait, we didn't want the guy. This guy's gonna do better. Where Minnesota he went or
It's
whatever.
like, dude, it's just insane. Like, listen, Mets organization, Steve Cohen, great dude, awesome dude.
Sure,
But it's like the fans.
the fans do make it hard.
I agree.
The fans, and I gotta be the first one to admit that Islanders fans make it hard too.
Yes.
General Islanders fans make it hard. The ones that just delusionally think that both sides of it, that this team is awful and this team is it's a legitimate shot at something. It's like you got to just understand what you're working with.
Well, it's like, let's look at the Jets too. The Jets beat, who did they beat 2 weeks ago? Jets kicked the hell out of the Patriots. Jets beat the Patriots. Jets are back. Super Bowl back on. We're winning the East. They lose to Denver. This team wasn't ready anyway.
I mean,
we're missing this person. We're missing that person. It's like,
I mean, that was a muffin of a game.
and it's just it's the constant. At least for me, at least as a Yankee fan, if the Yankees get dumped on, these guys suck.
Right.
I mean, we've sat here. I have no idea how this team won the East.
No.
How best record in the East? No clue how that happened.
It was like a month ago. You guys were saying that this team might finish in a wild card spot.
Yes.
When they were
And
first.
there was a legitimate chance that they could have. That was legitimate. That was real. Honest. This is what we do. We're honest about it.
It's not like I'm going to sit there and be like, we're going to re-sign Soto in the offseason and blah, 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 blah. And if he signs elsewhere, I'm not going to be like, we didn't even need him anyway. We have
No,
the
we
MVP.
do need
What are
him.
you talking about?
No, you're right. No, you've nailed that.
Just Mets fans, like, be better. Like, that's
Right.
all. Like, just
At least Red Sox fans just hate the Yankees, and it's just that.
another thing that's absolute loser behavior. I'll stop with this. When the Mets play the Red Sox and they do the Yankees suck chant, that's just free real estate in your brain. at
Oh,
all
that's
times.
yeah. It's. I mean, it's.
It's the it's oh god.
Anthony, I have a question about the
And-
loser mentality.
Yes.
So in
Well,
soccer,
the Devils and the Islanders do the same thing about the Rangers.
in soccer or football in the Premier League, at the end of the season, the champion is the person with the team with the most points.
Oh no, not this.
Okay. It is possible on the last day of the season, every team plays at the same time, right? It is possible for the winning team to lose on that day and be the champions, and then they celebrate on the field after losing their game. That's loser mentality. Just
It's the that's the difference
that's
between
good, Nick.
no, but that's the difference between winning your championship and just making the playoffs.
but they're losing. They lost.
They lost the
They
game,
lost
but
the
they
game
still
and
won
they're
the
celebrating.
championship.
Yes, the Mets didn't win the World Series.
But they
said that though.
But they accomplished what they needed to.
You said that was their World Series.
Well, it was there. They won their World Series.
But they accomplished what they were supposed to on that day.
Right. The Mets. No, I don't think the Mets.
No, it's a totally different situation because there's no playoffs.
But the Mets accomplished what they could accomplish on that day.
Listen, if it wasn't a doubleheader, I told you I have no issue if it's not a doubleheader.
So now it's just the semantics that you're questioning. It's not their fault they had 2 games that day.
No, it's not.
So
and
they
it's not their fault.
That was
MLB
then why did you go back into this?
It's not
dummy?
their. No, it's not their fault that the MLB.
No, I just want to know if that's loser because they're celebrating a loss. Are they not? In the
No.
Premier League, are they not celebrating a loss?
No.
Did they not lose the game?
Right. See, the Mets were simply celebrating their win retroactively. Their win that got them in the playoffs, not the loss. They're not celebrating the loss. They're probably celebrating that they could get out of Atlanta.
So it'd be winner mentality or loser mentality.
He's just calling them losers.
I
He
know.
just hates the Mets.
I know.
I do hate the Mets.
I mean,
I
that's
know.
fair. All
I
right.
know.
So I think we skip over the World Series predictions.
I think we just go to GG's
Yeah.
and get out.
I had
here.
a whole segment for the Minnesota Wild that's
hear
going to
it next
have to
week.
wait to next week.
Hockey
But next
starts
week is our NHL opener, so we're going to have lots of hockey next week.
Listen, if you like this kind of episode where we just yell at each other,
It's going to get clicks, that's for sure.
it'll.
We'll have to release the pie episode.
We could. Oh my god!
Oh, you want to hear yelling? You want to hear confrontation and conflict and hormones and 2-year-olds?
Grammys grinders. I never go first. I'll go first.
Okay.
Grammys grinders. Mine is a group of 3. It's a triple Grammys grinder. I can do that because this is our show.
You do whatever you want.
My Grammys grinders this week are the land. I have it named as the land of the misfit quarterbacks. It's a 3-way tie between Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, and Jared Goff. These guys were written off as busts. They were traded away from their original team, released, cut multiple teams. They were backups at one point. But what these guys have done, instead of falling to the land of quarterback purgatory as a backup, a la, I have it as Mitchy Biscuits, a la Mitch Trubisky, where he's just riding the bench, or QB hell, which is playing way past your prime and stinking up the place. And my example there is old Rub and Tug himself. Right now, these guys are quite possibly.
Who would that be?
That's Deshaun Watson.
I just wanted you to say
The good
it. That's enough. That's enough,
Good
Anthony.
old-fashioned
The diddler?
handy.
That-
The diddler.
the kids are going to love that. Oh, no.
But again, these guys are quite possibly 3 of the top 5 in the MVP conversation through 4 weeks. So, going back to my argument,
no.
No, we don't have time.
No.
he's an MVP candidate right now.
Sam is. You bet he is.
Is he the MVP for the season? No, he's
He's
not.
the MVP
Thank
of
you.
this
Next.
last 4 weeks.
It certainly isn't anybody on the Ravens.
But Lamar won last week, so Lamar's the best player. Last year, so Lamar's the best player. Anyway, go
He's
to
the
yours.
best player coming into this season. Sure.
Land of misfit quarterbacks: Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Jared Goff. You are my grind.
But it can change season to season.
Can you continue, please?
I don't think. No, see, this is my problem with Melissa. I can't
I
let
have
it go.
2. I have 2 Grammys grinders, and they have nothing to do with each other.
All right, go
honestly,
for it.
one of them I picked because he's on my fantasy team, and I wanted to say this. This Grammy grinder is my old girl lame, but my young ho coo.
It's pronounced Young Way. it's not how
But
it's.
my young ho coo.
That's not how it's pronounced. That's one of my all-time favorite memes. I also say that. But as sports media analysts right now, we cannot call this man Young Ho.
My young ho coo. He kicked a 58-yard winner.
Oh my
This
God.
past week, and he is just an awesome dude. Honestly, on the sidelines, with the fans, on the field, he's like the goat kicker right now, low key. Yeah, that's one.
And
of my
he is a
Grammy
true grinder too, because he's out of. I believe he came out of the USFL. He played for the USFL.
Oh
And
my goodness.
But my actual Grammys grinder,
Oh.
he's like my honorable mention because I just want to say that. Is Ryan Williams, Alabama wide receiver.
It's the second time he's been a grinder.
Oh, is it?
I had him as a grinder after week 1.
Oh, my bad.
Oh no.
Oh, you can do 2-time, 3, whatever.
Caught the game-winning touchdown in Alabama's 41-34 victory over Georgia. Come on, man. He's 17 years old, man.
That's incredible.
What's insane is he can against NFL caliber defensive backs at Georgia. This kid at 17 years old could play in the NFL.
100%.
That's
Bro, he had a
incredible.
75-yard touchdown. 75. Look at this, Chris. I don't know if you saw this.
We'll put the highlight in.
Have it right now, and they take a downfield shot, and the catch is made. It's Ryan Williams, still spinning free. Touchdown, Alabama! They answer in one play. 75 yards for the 17-year-old.
What blows my mind is the run after the catch.
I know, he looks
there.
like he's just moving in slow motion, bro.
He had time to spin, check
Yeah.
where the blockers
Fix
and the
his
defense
helmet,
fix his
bro.
helmet. It's insane.
Wow.
And I needed to mention this because this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Bro is the aura, man. Nasal strip on his nose. Kill everybody.
Wow.
Oh, my God, the aura. One of the best college pictures
Plus
I've ever
1
seen.
million.
Yeah, that's my grinder.
Wow.
Young Hoku and
All right.
Ryan Williams.
We might not be done arguing. Edwin Diaz is my Grammys grinder of the week. And the reason why is because as I was going for a run during the Mets-Braves game 2 days ago when they clinched the playoffs in the afternoon, one of the beauties of getting out of work early enough to watch really the last third of that game. And as long as that third of the game was, I was really able to enjoy it. So I was on a run. I was doing a CrossFit thing. And I was running at the time, and during the first mile that I did, the Mets took the lead. Then I did the push-ups or whatever, and then I went on the second mile run. And on the second mile, the Mets gave up the lead, and then I did more CrossFit. And then the third and final mile that I ran, the Mets nailed down the victory almost as I was finishing the run. Edwin Diaz told the Mets manager that he's going back out in the ninth. Tells his pitching coach and the manager, I'm going back out after the Lindor home run. I'm going back out. The pitching coach already told him he was out of the game. Lindor hits the home run. He goes, I'm going back out. Now, keep in mind, Edwin Diaz blew the lead in the eighth inning. It started with a missed covering of the base, of first base, and it rattled him, and he gave up all the runs. He goes back out there in the ninth, and he nails it down. That guy, tough as nails. And he made sure he didn't leave his feet during the celebration because he did get an injury one season professionally celebrating because he leapt in the air and he tore something. And he told his wife that he would make sure he didn't leave the ground this time.
He did the Caleb Williams yippee celebration.
Yes.
Talk about negative aura, man.
60 pitches in 2 days. Got the Mets to their 11th playoff appearance in 63 years as a team. That is terrible. Sorry. But it really does show the dedication to the team, and he's got a very strong will to win. And it was cool to see him back out, because I'll tell you what, when I heard Gary Cohen say, Diaz is back out to pitch the ninth, I laughed out loud. I was running on Moody, and I was laughing out loud. I was like, this game is over. I said, this is the Mets. This is the Mets way.
And as of right now, bottom 7, 1 out, Ryan Stanek is in. I really hope that his decision does not come back to bite the Mets. And by saying I really hope that it doesn't come back to bite the Mets, of course I want it to come back to bite the Mets. Because as of right now, it seems that they need to close this game out with a lockdown inning. And the bullpen is fairly taxed. Ryan Stanek looks good, but
Stanek pitched yesterday. He finished the game yesterday.
But that ninth inning's going to roll around, and you're going to need Edwin Diaz because...
Yeah, I'd rather have Edwin Diaz than Clay Holmes, let's be honest. Let's be honest.
Well, Clay, that's why they demoted Clay. But
Yep. Guys, what a fun time I had today. It really,
Was it?
it really flew by. What?
morning track fly out for the Brewers.
Oh, there you go. It was fun for me. I think it was a little bit stressful for you. I had so much fun.
The beats must be noise canceling because you didn't hear a word I was saying.
No. Follow us on YouTube and do this.
Hi, click the subscribe. See you next video.
Thanks, Sassy. Follow us on Instagram at Sports and Spaghetti Pod and on TikTok at Sports and Spag Pod. I had a lot of fun, and I know Anthony had a lot of fun too. I know he did. This is what we do. We do this. Oh, shout out to WestCon for winning 73-0.
Didn't even.
It was just an afterthought.
Didn't
this
even
week.
get to touch on that.
Just we couldn't really say this. We used the word drubbing on the broadcast, and I don't think that did it justice. That was a curb stomp of a performance.
This was a back alley beat down.
I mean, that was about as bad as it gets. And let me tell you something. Fitchburg State looked like they weren't even on the field. That looked like a high school team. And I can say that because we're not on the air on XCI now. That was pretty bad.
That was tough. It was hard.
That's hard to come back from.
At least the ref is chilling.
Yes, we've heard.
Yes.
We've heard a report that the ref is okay. There was this situation with the referee, and he's doing better. If you listened, you know what we mean. What were you going to say?
I don't remember.
All right, just end the show.
All right.
Get them out of here.
We made Bosco sticks today. You should definitely make them. They're
Yes,
very
so
easy.
easy,
They were
delish.
delicious. Easier than homemade pizza. Anyway, those are Bosco sticks. That's Nikki. That's Chris. I'm Ant. As always, take care of your loved ones. The Mets will forever be losers. And as always, stay full.